everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Weekend. You can call me VK. I'm the Associate Director of Technology Programs here at the University of Calgary Continuing Education. I'll be your host for today's session. Before we begin, a few quick notes. This webinar is being recorded, and we invite you to submit your questions using the Q&A panel at any time. My colleague, Kim, will be available in the chat and the question and answer to answer questions as we go along. And we'll moderate additional questions for our speaker at the end of the session. Before we begin, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge that UCalgary is situated within the traditional territories of the peoples of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta. The city of Calgary is also home to the Métis Nation within Alberta, including North Hill Métis District 5 and Albo Métis District 6. I'm pleased to introduce our speaker, Eric Liu. Eric is the co-founder and head of data analytics and business intelligence at WeCalData, with over 25 years of experience across retail, commercial, and investment banking. WeCalData is a Canadian training academy specializing in applied AI and data education, working with universities, governments, and industry partners to deliver hands-on, job-ready training. In fact, here at the University of Calgary, we closely collaborate with WeCalData across several of our own training programs to ensure our students are gaining the most relevant industry-driven skills. In today's session, Eric is going to take us through the end-to-end BI pipeline, from building data flows to resolve quality issues, to creating robust dimensional models, and ultimately designing the interactive dashboard that drive critical business decisions. And the timing for mastering these skills couldn't be better. As we look at the broader market, the demand for data literacy has never been higher. According to recent Lightcast data, tracking unique job posting for the skills in business intelligence, data analysis, and Power BI, we've seen an aggressive upward surge in organizations looking for these exact expertise over the past 5 years. So this creates a massive opportunities for professionals looking to future-proof their careers and step into high-impact roles. As we look at the regional breakdown, that demand spans coast to coast. Right here in Alberta alone, there were over 11,000 unique job postings looking for these specific capabilities. So whether you are looking to drive outcomes for your current organization or capitalize on this massive market demand, you are in the right place. Please join me in welcoming Eric.
Thank you, VK, for the intro. And welcome everyone to this webinar. VK just mentioned a few key terms, including data analysis, business intelligence, and Power BI. I'd like to add one more, business analysis. In fact, I put BA, DA, and BI over here just for your information and quick reference. BA, DA, BI are 3 steps of the same process. So in this webinar, I'm going to use DA and BI interchangeably, just to avoid the confusion. One more thing, Power BI is only a tool, and we use Power BI to answer business questions and solve business problems and make business decisions. If you look at this process from BA to DA to BI, it really doesn't matter if you come from a business background or technical background or design background. You should all find a place in this process. And nobody is perfect, and everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses. We just need to close the gap, and then you will become a BI professional working in this field. I'll start with a quick demo of a completed dashboard. Then I will explain how you can use it to fast track your career advancement. Because your work is BI and it's highly visible, and your name will get mentioned a lot during the meetings with managers, directors, VPs, and senior executives. So you will get promoted faster and get paid more. Here is a little background about this project. As you can very quickly glance this paragraph, you will see a few dimensions. I actually put them down here. So you see products, the values being mixed, rural, urban, and used, just different types of sporting products. And you also see geography. So you see names.
Eric, is
Such
the
as,
screen shared? I just want to double check.
oh, can you see my screen?
Because
Okay.
I only see your face. I think, did you share the screen?
Oh, okay, let me try again. Can you see now? Screen sharing?
Yes,
I'm
we
sharing
do.
the screen. No?
Yes, we do, Eric.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's good now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you see countries such as Australia, Canada, Germany, Japan, Mexico, Nigeria, and USA. If you count them, we have 7 countries. And the third dimension is manufacturers. In fact, manufacturer is just a higher level of product category. So down here, I want you to start remembering 3 different dimensions: product, country, and plus one more, a date dimension. Like in any scenario, you will see a dimension like date. And one thing you want to look at is each of them is a hierarchy. So for product, you can go down from category to segment to the actual product name. And for country, the same thing. You can go from country to state and district. And date, of course, you can go from year to quarter, months, and day. Okay, so before you do any analysis, you start with the business questions. So I will tell you a secret. You should always calm down and go through the questions and try your best to identify dimensions. Over here, I highlight them in blue, and also measures. And over here, I highlight them in green. For those of you who come from a SQL background, and you will relate to this really, really well. If not, you still understand dimensions. You will see the values of dimensions most of the time in text. And if you remember how to tell a story, in your English lesson, the teacher mentioned 5W and 1H. So that's who, what, where, when, and how, and why. So dimensions will set the level of details. And over here, you also see measures. Measures are most of the time numbers. In the business language, we call them key performance indicators. And the measures will be aggregated at the level of details set by dimensions. And you will do a lot of these: sum, average, max, minimum. And if you want to see only a part of the full picture, you can do filtering. So filtering is basically matching specific dimension values, and then you determine the context. Okay, if you're ready, we can start with a sample question. So the context is the CFO asks you as a DA/BI analyst to build a dashboard to analyze Van Asdel's performance versus top competitors. What performance? Sales or revenue. And he wants you to write up the findings and recommendations. So over here, we start, highlighting the measures in green and the dimensions in blue. So the first question, the first ask is to get revenue and year-over-year growth by country from 2014 to 2021. So right away you see 3 dimensions. Over here you already see the manufacturer, 1 dimension. The second dimension is country, and the third dimension is year, and the measure is revenue. And also another derived measure is the revenue growth, which is the current year revenue over the last year revenue. So you could use current year revenue minus the last year revenue and divide it by last year revenue. And the second question is the revenue by category and country. So the CFO is looking for the performance of the product market fit. So in this case, they come in pairs. So product of urban and market is USA. So specifically, these few in year 2021. So when this webinar finished, I want you to, if you forget everything, I want you to remember, always try to highlight and, the highlight the dimensions and measures from a business question. So with that, I will start with this objective. And at the end of the webinar or the project, you will probably add the following experience to your resume after the project. So we don't have to go through this now, but we can go through this after. I know a lot of you, before you get into this field, you have this imposter syndrome. For instance, if you look at this part of, paragraph, all these bullet points, you're like, I understand, this kind of experience can get me an interview. And I also want to write these bullets on my resume, but I have never done it, right? So that's why I feel like a fraud. So that's why project experience and hands-on project experience is important for you to feel confident, and you can defend this experience with the actual project portfolio. So with this, I'm going to switch to the actual data. Let me just go to my desktop. So this is the project folder. So as you can see, some of these are data. So there is a folder of 6 countries, and we also have another, CSV representing sales of USA. And when you look for a DABI analyst job, oftentimes you wonder, what are the top quality, the employer look for in a data analyst? I like to say the top quality is curiosity. So whenever you see a new data set, I want you to look at data the way a detective examines a crime scene, with lots and lots of curiosity. The question for you is, whenever you see this new data set the first time, what is the right approach? Now, how you approach a new data set? In this case, never open a CSV file in an Excel spreadsheet. That's the wrong way to open it. You could open it with a Notepad++. If I open this, you will see the reason why you cannot or you should not open it with an Excel. So over here, you can see it's a lot of data. In fact, over here, you can see it's close to 2 million rows of data, and Excel cannot handle that, and that's the reason. I can open another one, which is, this is actually the wrong way to open it. If you click open, you will see they get truncated in an Excel. So you should open it with the Notepad++. So over here, you can see this is over 4 million rows. So clearly, you cannot handle this amount of data using Excel. So that's the reason why we should do it within Power BI. Let me just take you to Power BI, and this is the completed dashboard. But before we get here, I want you to just go through the process with me very quickly. So I'm going to open a really powerful tool called Power Query. So this is the Power Query. And this is that international sales folder. So Power Query is able to ingest data, all the CSV files in a folder. So, and these are the steps on the right. So if I go to here, you can actually see the source. Just 1 second. Okay, so you can actually see the 6 CSV files. So basically, they are coming from the same shape and same format. So we can actually stack them into one table. So at the end of this exercise, you have all of these sales data in one big table. So over here, you can also see almost the same format, but missing the country name for USA. At the end of it, so I can actually combine or append the international sales to sales. So now you only have just one big file. And this is over 8 million rows of data. And the real world scenario can be even more. So that's the reason you need a more powerful tool to handle this sheer amount of data. The other thing I want to show you is the dimension table. Very quickly, it's in this Excel. And as you can see, it is very messy. In the real world, if you get data from different sources, some of them are really, really messy. So basically, you can see these are the dimension data: product, manufacturer, and geography. And you can see the hierarchies. And one thing I want to show you is how messy the data is. If you look at this, this is really messy. But if you take a closer look, this looks like, this data and the orientation of this table is wrong. So what you can do, if you just do it within an Excel, you can transpose this range and you can make this usable. So you can, the first row is useless, right? And starting from the second row, and this part of the data is useful. So usually within Excel, you can quickly open a new sheet and right-click and go to Page Special, and then Value and Transpose. So you can turn rows to columns and columns to rows like this. And if I just turn this to a range, you can see this is the correct format. But all of these can be done actually within Power BI. If I come back to Power BI, I will show you how Power BI handle this. So if you go to manufacturer, and if I go to the first step, actually the second step, you can see the same messy data. So as you can tell, the next step, it removed the top rows and removed the bottom rows. So this is the useful area. And then you transpose the table, and then you promote the first row of the table as the headers, boom. So now you have cleaned up, the manufacturer table, and it becomes useful. Okay, so to save time, I just want to show you this process is called ETL, and it's highly powerful, very, very, user-friendly. This is like graphic programming. But for those of you, once you get advanced in this, you can actually write the code. I will show you the code over here. And this is basically a bunch of code, but it serves the same purpose. So after this, you have data in clean form, but they are standalone tables like this. So you have several tables: date, geography, manufacturer, and product. Remember the 4 dimensions: date, geography, manufacturer, product. And this is what, this is probably whom, and this is where, this is when. Excellent. So now we have a big table of sales that includes 8 million rows. So this contains the measures, right? And not only is that, we create some more measures. This is something we called DAX. It's data analysis expression. And this is another powerful tool. Just a very quick tip I want to show you is, a lot of people, they tell me, I already know Power BI. And then I can just ask them a very simple question: do you know DAX? And then you hear people say, DAX? What's DAX? No, I don't know. So then I will tell them, you are a junior data analyst, right? So whether you know DAX or not is what separates a junior analyst from a senior analyst. Okay, so I don't want to go into the details, but now you can see standalone tables. The third powerful tool for Power BI is you can connect them into a data model. So this is dimensional data modeling. And for those of you with a technical background, if you come from SQL background, and this is basically a dimensional data model, or ERD, entity relationship diagram, right? So you can connect all the dimensions to the big sales table using primary and secondary key. So you can see. So with all the data cleaned and connected, it becomes very, very powerful. It can do anything with it. It can use it to answer any questions. So coming back here, this is the completed dashboard. So I want to show you the dimensions and measures I mentioned before, okay? So if you look at this column chart and you look to the right, you see measures and dimension. If you click open the geography dimension, you can actually see the hierarchy, right? All the way from country to state to district. You can go further down probably to zip code, but it's a hierarchy. And the measure is the current year revenue. One thing I want to tell you is, depending on your position within the company or your audience, the user's position within the company, they look at the same thing. They look at revenue, but at different levels. VP probably they look at sales at the country level, but the regional sales managers, they probably look at sales at a state or district level, right? But this is the same graph. You can actually drill down the level of details. For instance, if I pick USA, right, and I click on USA, and this will drill down to state level, you can keep going. If I click California, and you will see the sales by different districts, within California state. And this is extremely, extremely powerful because you just build this dashboard once, and it serves the needs and requirements, at different levels. And so the managers, directors, VPs, and CEOs, they can all look at the same dashboard, but they navigate and they use it very differently. The same thing, if you look at this, very quickly, you will see, and this is measures by date. And date is also a hierarchy, right? So you can drill down from year to quarter to months to date. So in this case, if I only care about the most recent year, 2021, and you can do that, right? So you can just click on 2021, and you have 4 quarters. I only care about the last quarter, and then you have 3 months, or the last months, you have the dates. So once again, it's very, very powerful. It's even more powerful is you can turn this into an animation. So if you look at this play axis, you can, and this has just one dimension, which is the year, right? So if you click the play button, and you start to see, and everything else changed with it, right? Oh, let me just do it again. So you will start from 2015 and 16, 17. I don't know if you notice the commentary are automatic and they change with the year you select. And it's amazing. And this part is already built by AI for you. It's crazy. It's crazily useful. And what are the other dimensions? I want you to see, this is the brand, right? The manufacturer. And all we are looking at now is Van Asda, but you can click a different brand. And then this whole dashboard has the red content for this brand only, right? And everything else change. Okay, so once again, let's look at the dimensions. So you have manufacturer, you have year, you also have year over here, and then you have country, and what else? You also have product, right, over here. So if I click this graph, and you will see measures, and with the product hierarchy, and we have three measures: the current year revenue, the previous year revenue, and the year over year growth. Okay, so over here you can drill down within a table. That's not a problem, right? Or you can roll up. Once again, one dashboard, but serves the needs and requirements of the audience at different levels. What else I can show you? And you can build different dashboard to answer different things. Remember, the CFO wants to see the product market fit, So what we have done is you can just put this within a big table. So you can see this is a metrics. So you have the countries in the rows and you have the product across. And then you could also calculate, the percentage. So this is the new measure over here, and we calculate it as, Van Astor's share of revenue. And this is what I call DAX, the data analysis expression. Now this will supercharge your analysis and your dashboard. Okay, so if you also do a little bit highlights, using the bars, and it becomes visual as well, right? So once again, if you click any brands, and it will change. And over here, you can also select different year, and it will change. So really, it depends on the audience, and you as an analyst, you interview the audience, and then you design a dashboard. So let me just go back to the presentation and continue with the process. So I want to show you, first of all, the data comes in different shapes and sizes, and they are almost always very messy. So what you can do is you use the Power Query and to do ETL, extract, transform, and node. And then the Power Query can ingest transaction data. These are dynamic data. They change very quickly. So you can actually consume all the CSV files in folder and then append to the US sales, and then you have one total sales. And you can also ingest the master data, the dimension tables. And remember, dimension table comes with a lot of issues, but you can clean them and make them usable. And then you can identify and resolve all the data quality issues within the tool. Usually, if you, from the business department, ask IT to do this for you, it's going to take a long time, right? But if you use Power BI, everything is within your control, and you will be able to, get data direct from the sources, go through the ETL, and boom, you have the data model, and it's ready for you to do the visualization. And it's very important for you to go through the sources and then build the data flow. And one good thing is you only need to build it once. And whenever there are more sales data coming from different countries, and they could submit, send it over to you, or you could extract them from the ERP system. So whenever you have updates, you can just use the data flow, and update the dashboard is as simple as the press of the button. So the next step within the process is called EDA. So I'm going to go through this real quick. Basically, it's about look at the data and identify the primary and secondary keys. So one example is the zip. The zip code is actually unique within a country, but somehow different countries may use the same zip code, right? So for that reason, you will have to use both zip and country to make this primary key, unique. This is something, you will learn as a data analyst. And this is the DAX, data analysis expression. Once again, this is what separates a senior from a junior. And this allows you to build dynamic level of detail calculation. And they will change, according to the user selected filter context. So ERDs, the entity relation. So I'm going to skip this real quick. So this is data model. So visualization. This is the last one I really want to show you. Remember, I said it doesn't really matter if you come from business or tech or design background, and you will always find something, that you can apply your unique strengths, but learn to upskill the other dimensions, and you can become a qualified DABI analyst. So over here about design, I like to mention that, whenever I interview the internal customers, I always ask them, what questions do you want answered? And it's basically about the context of the business, the decisions they want to make, and then you also want to determine the level of details they want, right? If you build the model with the right amount of details, it allows you to drill down, but it also allows you to roll up, right? So it becomes a very dynamic dashboard. I usually only ask the audience to tell me what questions they want answers. I do not allow them to tell me, how to design a dashboard, because that's my area of expertise. Just tell me what question you want answers and leave the rest to me. The second is, you want to determine when to use what chart and to deliver what message. So why do we select line versus pie? A line is very good to show trend of a time series. And pie is very good to show the part to whole relationship, right? And column chart or bar chart with just different orientation of the same thing. It is very good at showing comparison. And sometimes we use scatter plot to show correlation. So once you get a hand of it, and you will determine, when to use what chart, and also determine what combination of the charts to include in a dashboard and to tell a story. If you look at this is really like designing a newspaper. Remember newspaper? When you look at a newspaper, you usually follow the hierarchy from top down, right? You see the headline, and then you see the picture, and then you read the story if you're interested. But this is one on a newspaper. This is the kind of newspaper that you saw in a Harry Potter movie. Remember, the wizard newspaper is like a moving picture, and the subject, of the newspaper can actually talk. And so, because remember, we show you the animation, and also all the filters and grouping and hierarchy and aggregation at the level of details determined by the grouping. I don't know if you realize this follows the same logic of SQL query, right? So filtering is all about the where statement, and this is group by, and this is select, and then you do all kinds of, most of the time you do sum, of the measures. So this is about taking your analysis to the next level. The good analysis should be visual, let me tell you. And nobody in the business world can consume the data, and especially raw data, with 8 million rows. That's impossible. So it's good that you determine the right level of summaries and you turn the data into tables. It becomes more expressive. And it's even better, you can turn tables into charts so it becomes more obvious. And the best is, of course, animation, because you see all data are connected and they change, in different contexts. And the best dashboard or visualization you can develop is self-explanatory. You don't even need to explain. And when people see it, they get it, right? And they get it within a very short time frame. If you look at all these and the work you do, don't you think, this will go all the way to the business leaders and the senior executives, and your names will come up a lot, right? And that is a real advantage. And you can get your personal reputation and your expert credibility built. And don't you think that is one fast way to accelerate your career growth? So that concludes my presentation, and I will leave the remaining time for Q&A, if I may. Let me just stop sharing and giving the floor back to VK.
Yep. Let me have my slide ready. Okay. Okay, so thank you, Eric. So to ensure we have time for questions, let's move ahead to our Q&A. So Kim, do you find any questions that people want to ask about?
Yeah, so there's a couple. So the first one is, can Power BI be used for qualitative data, such as activity completed by a computer's department towards an organization strategies, for example, a sustainability strategy?
So data includes quantitative and qualitative. It's always better to even turn qualitative into numeric format. For instance, if you do a survey and then you can always give points to satisfactory all the way to somewhat satisfactory and not satisfactory, right? But we know it's not numeric. It's what we call, there's a term for that. So I'm trying to say you should always try to turn unstructured data to structure, and it's easier to manipulate. But if you cannot, there is still a way to handle that. You could always turn that into maybe a dimension rather than measure. Remember, dimension is text-based. So that way you can still analyze it as a variable.
Okay. Thank you. So there's a couple more. So the second one is, what are the plugins that you will recommend to make Power BI more powerful for specific data visualization?
Yeah. So for those of you who have learned Power BI, probably remember two Italian guys. If you go to the website, I think it's SQL BI or something like that. They created something called DAX editor, and that's very powerful plugin. And the other one I can think of is tabular editor. If you want to write a lot of DAX, you can actually do it within Excel, and then you can import all the expressions or formulas into Power BI with a press of the button. So these are the efficiency tools that you will encounter later on. But yeah, so there are people who create plugins. Oh, one more thing. For those of you working in finance department, there's one plugin created by one guy, and it sold like millions of copies, and I'm pretty sure he made a lot of money. Basically, he pre-built, the multiple dimensions for finance, right? So a date is always dimension, but he also built actual performance versus plan, or actual performance versus forecast plus actual. So this kind of what we call financial planning and analysis, FP&A. So with that, I can tell you the reason it sold so many copies is because if you leverage that, you can automate the work of 10, 15 people finance department, and it can be done by just one individual with this powerful plugin.
Thank you. So one more. Is the animation control a standard one?
It is. The animation is also a plugin. So that visual is a custom visual created by somebody, right? But it's very powerful. You can change parameters. For instance, you can change the year by 3 seconds or 3,000 milliseconds. It can control the pace of it. Yeah, so it's an ecosystem. A lot of developers are actually creating plugins, and they make money. They write on Power BI and they make money within the ecosystem.
Okay, thank you, Eric. And there is one more question is I believe is quite important. So if you are not very familiar with Power BI, what is the best way to get familiar with the tool?
That's a very good question. I think take existing dashboard and try to reverse engineer it, and you will make a lot of mistakes throughout the process. But every step you learn a lot more than just reading books or watching videos. So the approach I recommend should be hands-on. Just find some of the best dashboards you can on the internet and try to reproduce it. That's just one best way for you to quickly learn Power BI skills within a very short time frame.
Okay, thank you. So a couple more questions coming, but because of time sensitive, so I believe we will take one or two more. So the next one is there more course about DAX or tabular editor?
You know what? I have to say this. The best course was not created by Microsoft. Was created by users, and there's a special group of users called MVP. I believe it stands for Most Valuable Professional. So one lady from Sweden, she created this. Please note it down. Called DAX Fridays. It has that YouTube channel has close to 200 videos, but every video is very short. It's like 5 to 10 minutes long, and it helps you to learn one DAX formula, one DAX expression. I don't recommend you watch 200 videos in one shot. I recommend it you, whenever you need to create a DAX, and go look it up and just watch that video. And then that lady use actual examples to teach you the purpose of it and how to do it. And yeah, so you can very easily, very quickly learn and then apply just on the spot.
Yeah, just on this note, because like we also collaborate with Recall Data, and we also have a partnership with Microsoft. And
Yes.
actually, one of our instructor teaching Power BI is Microsoft MVP.
Yeah.
If you want to go for a more structured way of
Yeah.
learning, whereby you want to learn from experts, like learn from expert instructor like Eric, we have instructor who can guide you, and show you the right approach, and even
Yeah.
have a project for you to practice, and give you the feedback.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And also, it's not just the Power BI dashboard, it's the actual business context, right? Is that a very typical, very popular business context or business problem you're solving? If that is a very popular one, if you put that on your portfolio, and maybe your first page resume, second page is your portfolio, and that will stand out. And the employer will pick your resume and try to schedule an interview with you.
Yeah. Okay, so next questions. What are the top tips for the software developer who is transitioning to a BA role?
As a software developer, I think you're almost like natives in terms of understanding of data and how data is structured. So that data model with dimensional data modeling should be easy for you. But I'm not just being critical. I've seen, people come from a business background. They can tell a good story, with the insight they discover. People coming from design background, their visualization is beautiful. So for you, with a tech background, I think what you will want to pick up is the business context and also design. Some of the very talented, the best developers, they can do visuals, but sometimes it doesn't look very beautiful. I've heard people say, nobody look at ugly charts. So you just somehow have to learn the basic principles of what makes a good chart. That's not hard to learn. If you spend the time, you will learn. Yeah, some design principles, and well, it's not about overuse of colors, and maybe just more two colors, but they just look very consistent. This kind of things I think you want to pick up.
Okay, so questions on how about the Power Platform, Power Apps, or Automate, how they can improve the Power BI report.
Yeah, very good question. So Power BI is actually part of that Power Platform. Power App is very, very powerful, because all these are connected within with even Microsoft Azure, Microsoft, for instance, dynamic CRM database. So if you think about a company that is a Microsoft shop, they use everything Microsoft, and then this becomes super powerful because you don't need to leave this ecosystem, and everything will be very easy for you to connect. You just need to build connectors, and then maybe the insight you generate from the Power BI can be directly fed into a Power App, and Power App can also automatically generate emails and through Outlook, right? So all these are connected. One particular organization I can think of is the federal government of Canada. So they are also our client. They use everything Microsoft, so it makes sense for them to use Power BI and then extend to Power App to even AI, right?
Just a
Okay.
quick note, like I know Microsoft recently over the past 2 years has launched Fabric,
Mm,
and they're trying to also
yes.
like have Fabric integrated with Power BI natively.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you are you aware what is the adoption? Is are a lot of enterprise going into Fabric, or is it something that you see you still need more time before it becomes mature?
I think companies, they still have other systems. For instance, some systems are desktop. Well, I came from banks, and banks are still using IBM mainframe, right? So that's like technology from 1980s. So you still have to juggle, between systems. So organizations usually select a few applications within um, Microsoft offerings, and then not fully. And I think the adoption is case by case. Really depends on their legacy systems, and legacy system are what always dragged organization down and slow them down. If it's a startup, they can get it all from day one. That's because they don't have that burden. Oh, as an individual, I always believe individuals adapt a lot faster than organizations, because it's just as simple as download, install, and then off you go, right? So I think if you came from the old world and you know the pains of an organization trying to adopt, and you can help them to accelerate, this adoption, they become super valuable. So sometimes it's tricky. It's not always about learning the newest technology. Your understanding of the old legacy system becomes an advantage too, because you show during the interview, you show them how much you understand the pain. You've actually approached this old problem with some creative solution, and the interviewer, the employer will listen, okay, because you speak to their heart.
Okay. Yeah. So let's be mindful of the time. So here comes the really, really last questions. Many people is asking on the resource of the learning. So one of the typical question is this possible to get a data set from anywhere for free to practice Power BI or and building a dashboard?
Yes. In fact, the dashboard I showed you is free. You can download from the internet. Just search Microsoft dashboard in a day. Microsoft dashboard in a day. So it's the Van Astel dashboard. And it's actually a full day training, 6 hours. But if you do it right, you can finish it within 3 hours or even shorter. I did it in half an hour.
Oh, okay.
That's because I after so many tries, I tried to record a video. I didn't make any mistake, and so I keep the video within like 25 minutes. But usually, if you approach it the first time, you should be able to finish the dashboard, just the look of it, within 6 hours, and that will be your first project.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of the session today. If you enjoyed today's look at data, you wouldn't want to miss our next event on July 15th, where we will explore the power of AI development in a session titled How to Build an App with Vibe Coding in 30 Minutes. We truly appreciate your time and participation today. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you soon.